hundreds of documents that until tonight had been the property of Jeffrey Epstein's estate are now public. Those documents include Jeffrey Epstein's will, the Justice Department's controversial agreement to not prosecute Jeffrey Epstein on much more serious charges back in 2007, and page after page after page of unredacted names from Jeffrey Epstein's address book. Now, this isn't a client list per se. It's the names, phone numbers, and addresses of the people that he knew. And judging by what we're looking at tonight, he knew a lot of people. Also released this evening, that collection of birthday messages from friends for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday. The Republican chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman James Comer, said the decision to release all of this tonight was because Democrats on that committee released this. It's the letter purportedly from the President of the United States that the White House and his attorneys insisted didn't exist. It's a sexually suggestive drawing for Epstein on his birthday with what appears to be Trump's signature there at the bottom. A picture that Trump strenuously denied ever drawing.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building? And I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, you know, for a charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women. And also, you know, Epstein was always a very controversial guy.
Maintain you did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday?
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot.
When this story was first published, the vice president said that the Wall Street Journal's initial reporting that the letter even existed was, quote, complete and utter bullshit. The president himself sued the Journal for billions, and his attorneys insisted in court filings that this letter was, quote, non-existent and that no authentic letter or drawing exist. The president's son, Eric Trump, echoed that sentiment just tonight.
My father does not sketch out cartoon drawings. It's no different than the Russian hoax. I mean, listen, the New York Times, the same people who are going to, by the way, try and do everything they can to keep me from becoming the #1 bestseller, you better believe, they were the ones that got Pulitzer Prizes for writing about the Russia hoax, something that was untrue, and they didn't even give back the prizes, right? I mean, this is a level of dementia in the mainstream media.
Now, immediately after Democrats published that picture I just showed you, the White House's immediate reaction was to focus on the signature, which is different from the ones that we're used to seeing lately at the bottom of so many of the president's executive orders that he's been signing. The White House press secretary tweeted, quote, "It's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it." The deputy White House chief of staff said, quote, "It's not his signature." And of course, when you look at the signature, you can judge for yourself. There's a lot of examples of the president from that same era of when this birthday book was compiled, signing his name in a similar style, like this 1996 letter to then New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, or this 1995 letter to a member of a local Palm Beach commission. There's also that 1999 letter to the legendary CNN host Larry King that you see here, and a 1984 letter to the executive editor of the New York Times. There's even an inscription in a Trump book that Epstein owned from 1997 that the New York Times recently published. Those are the signatures there, and of course, this is the one the White House is denying is the president's tonight. As we're digging through these hundreds of new documents that were just released tonight, CNN's Manu Raju is up on Capitol Hill, where obviously, Manu, it's been about 21 days since the committee interviewed then Attorney General Bill Barr. Of course, that interview and so much that they have done has been behind closed doors. What are you hearing from sources about why they're putting these documents out now?
Well, James Comer, the House Oversight Committee chairman, had insisted that the documents that they would receive would eventually become public. But Comer himself blamed Democrats for what he said were cherry-picking individual pieces from this document dump tonight to try to embarrass Donald Trump. So they went out ahead and put out all of the information that they received just today. But the question here on Capitol Hill is, to what extent does this change the dynamic among Republicans, particularly those Republican members who have been demanding the release of all these Epstein files and now have the opportunity to try to force a vote in the full United States House if they were to sign on to a bipartisan effort on a bill calling for the release of those documents. But in talking to a number of those Republicans, particularly ones who are in the MAGA camp, per se, in the House GOP, if they are moved, if they are willing to buck the president now in the aftermath of all of this, many of them, like Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, someone who sits on the House Oversight Committee, contended that these documents, he believes, signing with the White House, as he says, are all a fake.
I mean, anybody can do a signature. We've seen the auto pen's been used quite a bit with the Biden administration. So I've never known Trump to be much of an artist either. So I kind of draw that into question.
There's a history of him drawing
But the thing
stuff.
is, it's been there for 4 years, and now it's just come out. I just don't buy
So
it.
you think really someone might have just forged this somehow and sent this to the
Somehow it's so easy to do. I just don't buy any of it right now because we have a prior administration that's had a history of dishonesty, and they bring something like this out now. Why wouldn't they bring it out during the campaign?
And of course, these documents were from the Epstein estate, not from the Biden administration. But nevertheless, you're hearing that defiance from some of those Republicans who had been calling for the release of those documents, but very much siding with the president, which just shows you that perhaps this has not really moved the needle among some of those key Republicans whose support would be needed to force a vote on that bill, calling for the release of all the documents.
Yeah.
At the moment, you're seeing the White House, seeing its allies sort of circle the wagons in the aftermath of the release of that birthday book.
Well, you know, Manu, with the birthday book, obviously it's not illegal to send someone a birthday letter. This was before Jeffrey Epstein had been arrested, I believe, based on the dates of when his 50th birthday would have been. But, you know, when the Wall Street Journal published this story, it kind of bolstered the White House because they'd been under fire by so many in the GOP. And then this came out, people came and rallied to Trump's defense. I wonder if the White House, you know, denying that this letter existed or that was Trump's signature, if that changes anything now that they can kind of look at it with their own eyes.
Yeah, I mean, as you heard from Congressman Burchett, they are believing what the White House is saying, that it's simply not his signature. That is enough for a lot of the Republicans to simply say, okay, I believe you, despite what they are seeing right there. And I actually showed Burchett the letter there. I said, do you want to look at this yourselves? But he still kind of shrugged it off. And that's just what I heard from one Republican after another tonight, Caitlin. So we're seeing a sense that the Republicans are going to fall in line behind Donald Trump on this issue like they have on so many others over the last many years.
Yeah, we'll see if that changes. Manu Raju, as we look through all these documents tonight, thanks for that reporting up on Capitol Hill. And speaking of Capitol Hill, my lead source tonight sits on the House Oversight Committee, which is now at the center of this story. Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas joins me now. And thank you, Congresswoman, for being here because Chairman Comer says that Democrats are cherry-picking the information that they're releasing. They're politicizing what's being released tonight. As a Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, what is your response to the chairman?
No, listen, here's the deal. We have a president that is sitting in office that obviously had a very close relationship with arguably one of the worst pedophiles that we've ever seen in this country. And he's gone from, I don't really know him like that. No, we're not really that close. Yes, he was an FBI informant. To now, he said there never was this birthday book, there never was this letter. And I think it goes to his credibility or lack thereof when it comes down to this particular investigation. It also goes to when we hear the White House say things like, hey, this will be seen as a hostile act if you sign off on this. Listen, as American people, we should all be in unison, no matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent, when it comes down to cracking down on something like this. And this literally is so big. As someone who practiced criminal law in Texas, in Arkansas, and in federal courts, I have never seen a case this big. And I did it for literally over 15 years.
In terms of what Democrats on your committee are putting out, the address book that came out tonight, it's got, I mean, I looked at it. It's names and phone numbers of people we know, their addresses. Was there a consideration about redacting that information, or was it intentional to just release it with everything?
So as it relates to the committee and what the committee itself has put out, we as committee members haven't sat down in a room and said, this is exactly what's going to happen when.
So who made this decision?
Those decisions are made by our ranking member, along with the lawyers that are serving on our committee, because honestly, we don't sit and do that kind of stuff. The things that we're doing is we're trying to make sure that we are going after and we're subpoenaing the information that is going to lead to real answers, whether it's people or whether it's documents. So we are coming up with a plan around that. In addition to that, obviously, we are going to have staff that is going to go up and speak with those attorneys that released this most recent information to us, because there have been redactions. And so they're going to see everything unredacted to make sure that they're just not cherry picking how much information they're giving to us as well.